The Senate continues to hold hearings on the nuclear deal with Iran. Today's testimony focused on the implications of sanctions relief. CBS News senior national security analyst Juan Zarate was one of the key people to testify and joins us now from Capitol Hill. Juan, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure, Vlad. Thank you.
So why were you testifying? Why were you asked to be there?
Well, this hearing, the Senate's having a series of hearings, as you just noted. This one was focused on sanctions and the nuclear deal. And the committee, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, wanted to talk specifics about how sanctions relief will work, whether or not the deal itself gives Iran too much, and what the implications are and the alternatives to the deal. And so I was honored to be asked to come up and testify as a witness, to be one of two experts. Recall, I used to work at the Treasury Department. I used to be the Assistant Secretary there, where I worked on Iran sanctions. I was also at the White House as the Deputy National Security Advisor, worked on all things Iran, as you can imagine. So I was there to provide my opinion and expertise. And I wasn't there in my CBS News analyst hat, so I wasn't there to necessarily provide both sides. I was there to provide my opinion, and I did.
And Juan, in your role testifying there in front of those lawmakers, what is your view on this deal?
Well, I think, this is a difficult issue, and there's no question that the Senate is grappling with this. And I think one thing for the viewers to note is, this was really a sober hearing. They had a hearing yesterday about the overarching deal. They've obviously heard from Secretary Kerry, Secretary Moniz, the Energy Secretary, Secretary Liu, the Treasury Secretary. So the Senate's taking this very seriously in a fairly nonpartisan way. And so I think we should be proud of that, first of all. But my view is that the sanctions structure here, the way that we've given up a lot of our sanctions tools and pressure, the sanctions relief, which is very much sort of front-loaded, and the way that we've submitted our sanctions power to what is in essence now a multilateral process to include Iran, gives away way too much in terms of our ability to use those financial tools to continue to pressure Iran. One key point here, Vlad, is that the administration has made the point that what we've dealt with and negotiated has been nuclear-related sanctions and nuclear-related issues. But the reality, if you look at the substance of the deal and the new UN Security Council resolution, is that we've actually given up more than that. We've given up sanctions that have to do with proliferation, with missile exchange, all sorts of other things that really will hamper what we can do in the future. And I think that was the point of my testimony, that we've got to be very careful here in looking at the deal, because we may have given up too much, not just in the short term, but in the long term, to use this kind of financial power against Iran and other actors in the international system.
Juan, we've been hearing from people who oppose this deal that they would have preferred if Secretary Kerry and the president got what people are calling a better deal. But very few have been specific on what that better deal would look like. In your mind, what would that look like?
Well, I lay that out in my testimony, so I encourage folks to actually read my 22 pages of written testimony if anyone's interested or bored enough to read it, or watch clips of the hearing. Because what I did was to lay out the real deficits in the sanctions unwinding framework that's in the deal. And so I think it's a very realistic proposition, Vlad, to say, look, either Congress can make clear what we are giving up or not and make sure that aligns with everyone's expectations, or we can go back to the table, which is not an unreasonable thing to say, look, the American people weren't comfortable with these particular dimensions of the deal. And I gave very specifics as to what I found problematic in the deal. One of the things we do in the deal, Vlad, which I think is important, is we, in essence, give Iran an equal say, if not a predominant say, in how it is that we use our sanctions. And so they have, in essence, a nuclear snapback and a walk-away provision that allows them to object to anything we do that they think undermines the deal. And so if we decide we're going to try to isolate an Iranian bank because they're supporting terrorism, in the deal itself, they have the basis to not only walk away, but to object to what we say and to submit what we are doing on a national basis to this joint commission, which includes Russia and China and Iran. And so I think there are some fundamental things procedurally that are just problematic and are not good for the use of American power moving forward, regardless of what you think about Iran.
Juan Zarate, thank you so much for your analysis. We appreciate it.